Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. The topic of this episode is speak accurately and listen professionally. And before I forget again, as sometimes I do, hi everyone, your most favorite people are here, Doug and of course me, Mo.
Of course, but before we go, you say speak accurately and listen professionally. Listen very professionally. You did not get me a Christmas or a birthday present because we just finished a merry Christmas season and I got nothing.
You should listen to my podcast on gift. Then you will see why. Okay.
But Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. And then, but anyway, so what do I mean by when I say speak, accurately, which I think it just defines itself. Try to be as accurate as possible, not just random talks. And then, but when I say listen professionally, I mean that listen in a way as if you're the professional and you're, for example, if somebody is speaking not clearly and just vaguely, just try to help them to, elaborate on it, that what exactly they mean.
Okay, but now I want to challenge you when you say listen professionally. Can you define or clarify what do you mean by listening professionally? Because if we speak just casual and we speak about
random things,
psychology, I'm not a psychologist. I won't be able to speak professionally.
In that case, you should not speak.
But you asked me the question.
And this is that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Then if you can, you speak as much as you can. And then
you say, let me go ask, I don't know, Google.
Or somebody who knows more. And that is exactly it.
Yeah.
So because of that, the conversation will become very limited to the things that we know.
I think we're in for a 3-minute podcast today.
Actually, this is one of the funny things, once I brought something like this up with some group of friends that we were talking, and then one of them said that in that case, that we can't speak. I said, that is true. We cannot speak BS as much anymore.
No.
Because then you speak as much as you know, then you start to ask questions, and then if we don't have the proper answer, then we go investigate and you find out, and the conversation becomes that. Then he said, but if I have to go do that, it becomes a lot of, work.
Exactly.
I said, yes.
Yeah.
I said, that is true, and it becomes less of talking, but then you can do the talking, you can be comedy.
But then, then the talking becomes less professional and it becomes small, casual banter, I suppose.
And actually, it's better than if you start pretending I'm the astronaut. Do you want to make build a spaceship? Let's talk about that one.
You're an astronaut, not a spaceship builder, so no.
But it becomes. Of course, I'm exaggerating it, but again, it goes back to the same thing. You speak as much as you know.
You're not allowed to exaggerate. It says
that's
speak
correct.
Accurately.
So, and that is true. Okay, now you're just changing the whole thing that I wanted to start with. But for example, let's say I'm a physical therapist. Sometimes people, they come and, for example, they say that I have a hip pain or back pain. And then, so it is my responsibility to help them to basically ask more questions to clarify it. So when you say back pain, where do you exactly mean? Because sometimes the words that they are choosing is not exactly the words that, I use as a professional in the field. Then when they say hip, to me, hip means a bit differently than most others. I don't want to get into
this thing over here.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. So basically, it is my responsibility to ask more questions and to elaborate and, as much as possible to help them to get the right words too for future thing. That, what is bothering you, when is it bothering you, what makes it better or worse. And because of that, normally I say when it comes to my assessment, I lead the conversation. I don't let the client to do that. They want to share information, but some of the information doesn't do me any good.
It's wrong or it's irrelevant or
yes.
But then as a professional, it's then your responsibility to get your patient to speak accurately.
That's correct. So that is where I say listen professionally. That's what I mean. So, but that is the part that I was trying to elaborate. It was the listen professionally. But now speak accurately. Obviously, you want to speak as good as you can. Now I'm going to go back to this. And what is the, where does it apply to our daily lives? Actually, lots of stress and anxiety we get is simply because of these simple things. For example, just a few days ago, I don't know, in the morning I woke up, early in the morning, and then I realized that, the house was a bit colder. So on my phone, I have access to this temperature thing. I realized, the furnace is not kicking in. So I got up. Of course, I'm kind of half asleep. I got out of my bedroom, forgot that, I alarmed the system. And then when I step out of the bedroom, then the alarm goes off. So the alarm goes off, then I ran back and disarmed the system. Then I forgot that when I disarmed the system, the alarm company, they call me.
Their phone, yeah.
But because my phone is on silent, I didn't get the phone call. And then afterwards I realized, oh my God, I have missing phone calls. And I kind of came to me because, of course, I'm kind of half asleep or during all this time. So I immediately called back, but it's a 1-800 number. But anyway, they managed to connect me to the person who had called, and everything stopped there. But can you imagine if, for example, if I hadn't done this, chances would be very high. I mean, I don't know. I cannot say for sure. I don't know. But chances would be that maybe they would call the police. Yeah. If they call the police, then the police would come here.
And what would happen? I mean, what's the protocol? Yeah.
Most likely, I'm guessing. I don't know, and maybe they wouldn't. But I think their responsibility is to do that. Now, if the police would come, then it would become a bigger mess. Now you have to explain to them, no, it was just a mistake and things. And then maybe you get an invoice for it too, because if it's a false alarm or something, and then it goes on and on.
All because you were a bit slow in the morning.
It's just in the morning, but I'm not. Otherwise, I'm not the slow. To be accurate, speak accurately.
There we go. So that's my question. How are you going to relate your story to what we're saying?
I was just trying to do that. This was part. So I brought this up with a buddy of mine, and then he said that should ruin your day. I said no, it doesn't ruin my day. And then no, I mean it is entertaining now that I'm saying
afterwards. Yes. Yeah.
But I said no, it doesn't ruin my day. But this is the speak accurately. Because for him, he just exaggerated out of the proportion that it just set the whole thing, off, went the wrong way. I said, no. Afterwards, I thought about this for a bit. Yeah, maybe next time, if I get up, I have to be more aware that before I step out of my bedroom to disarm the system. That's the only thing I need to do. But because I thought about that, I was more accurate about where the whole thing went wrong. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if I wanted to think the way that he did, I would say, oh my God, it just ruined my day because this happened, that happened, and that happened. Of course, needless to say, I had to go fix the furnace. So by that time, I woke up completely because it took me a kind of half hour to 45 minutes, and I had to go outside, which is cold in here. And then anyways, but what I'm trying to get at is this, speak accurately. If, for example, myself, if I'm reiterating this to somebody else, and then when I'm saying it, I just blow it out of proportion because I'm not really accurate in my language. Yeah. Then literally I say it ruined my day. The words that I choose makes it happen too. So if I say it ruins my day, it tends to ruin my day.
Right, it'll be a bad day, yeah.
It tends to do that. I'm not saying for sure 100% thing, but it does push it that way.
I mean, it changes your mindset for the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But if you just sit back and say, oops, I just... Yeah. I had one screw up,
which led to 3 more, 4 more, 5
and
more.
I stopped it at the 3 more.
But I still have a good day.
Okay. Then, and what is the root cause of all this? I have to come up with something to remove the root cause, and everything is done. So if you speak accurately.
I have a great idea how you can fix that. Put pieces of Lego in front of your door that when you walk over them and you don't realize that they're there, they'll wake you up very quickly.
Well, I'm not sure about the best professional advice, but
but that was very accurate.
Yeah, but again, the moral of the story is then you don't speak, when we don't speak, we just speak randomly. Now, I wanted to use another example, and then I will just take it to a few case scenarios. Another example is my car, the volume, the radio, the volume, the one on the console doesn't work, but there is one on the wheel as well. The one on the wheel works, but not the
steering wheel.
steering wheel. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
not the tires. It's kind of harder to reach. But so the one on the steering wheel, it works, but not the one on the console. So imagine if
Console. It's a
Is that-
console, not a council.
I said console.
Sure.
Oh, come on, dude, these South Africans
I couldn't let that one go. Yeah, sorry.
speak accurately. But so imagine if I would go to the dealership, I would say my car doesn't work, instead of being accurate about what doesn't work
The volume, that button right there does not work.
on the console,
On the console, yes.
on this console. But so if I go and talk like that, you lose a kind of respect to some extent. You have to be a little bit more accurate. And then now, if I wanted to blow it a little bit out of proportion, and if you think that I'm exaggerating it, listen to the rest of it. You will see actually we do this very frequently, and it doesn't seem, it's not as unusual as we think. If my car is an Audi, if I go back and say that my Audi broke and this Audi is a piece of crap, then I take it a bit further. I say Audi built in Germany, so German cars are piece of crap. And then Germany is in Europe. Said European cars are piece of crap.
It sounds like it's escalating really quickly.
Okay, just listen to this. We have done this before, in other case scenarios. And then after that, said that the European are just piece of crap, anything built. And then you just escalate it. And sometimes, actually, believe it or not, we do exactly this. Pay attention to. I don't have a proper example for it, but we have examples like this, that you escalate it, you take it big, you make it big, and then you bring it down in a different angle. All of a sudden, from the one car, and actually my car is an Audi, and in all honesty, it has been a pretty good car. I haven't had any specific issues with it.
And at the end of the day, it was the user.
No, it was not. But imagine, for example, at times it happens that we just make it big, we take it to the whole Europe, and then we bring it back to one of the European countries and one of the European people, for example. And then you connect the Audi to the person in Austria.
Yeah. But I mean, this comes back to a few things that we've said in the past, where an exaggerated story, which is not the truth, makes for a really good story.
Yes.
And it's more entertaining.
Actually, it is more entertaining. I wouldn't say good.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can tell a good story if I really want to.
Because unfortunately, we as listeners, more often, we look for something out of proportion. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that is sad. And if we change our value system, it will be different. But now, as I said, this thing that I said about my Audi and just that volume on the console, versus that one, we did that with COVID. It became a Chinese virus. And it didn't seem that funny, did it?
No, not at
So
the,
why,
not at the
when I
time.
say European products are piece of crap, that becomes funny? Just because my console volume didn't work. This is where I'm going. Some of the mistake that we make, because we are used to it, it sounds okay. But if you are not used to it, it sounds silly. Oh, what are you talking about? So the case that I brought it up about the console and the volume, I just made that up. It's a new thing. So because of that, we are not used to it. So if you hear it, you start thinking about it in a more appropriate way. Yeah. But the Chinese virus,
COVID?
It was, now I'm forgetting even the name. The Chinese virus is a different story. We come up with the idea because it was proposed. It came from the very get-go. It was just a new thing. And then this orange guy, he came and gave it that name. And then some people that they wanted to follow with it, they accepted it. And then it didn't seem funny. But it is made in China.
So lots of people, obviously accepted it. Is that not because of exaggeration about people being scared, about people being uncertain? You just don't know what you don't know, so you just make up the worst thing you can think of?
I can use the same excuses about my volume in my car.
True, yeah.
So they are all excuses. Yeah. And there is a reason behind everything. And I have said this in the past. Because you have a reason doesn't make you reasonable. So remember that. There is a reason, I know that. But the reason is not reasonable.
Right. Your
So
reason might be wrong.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then everything happens for a reason, but yeah, we know that.
And you
it's
can-
not a discovery.
And you
but
can justify any reason.
if you wanted to, if you want to accept it, sure, you can justify anything that you want to. But the fact at the end of the day is, does it make sense? So we want to be realistic. And that is the whole gist of this talk, to be realistic, to be accurate. As when, for example, we talked about this, that Chinese virus, I said, so it happened in Wuhan. We can make it a bit smaller. Again, it's inappropriate, call it Wuhan virus. But for example, this guy, he didn't want to accept that as a Wuhan virus. I said, no, Chinese virus. Actually, it's a Chinese virus. China is in Asia, so can we call it Asian virus?
Asia, yeah.
And then, of course, he was a bit reluctant, but he accepted it. Then I said, what about Asia is in the planet? Can we call it planet virus? And then the guy is a carpenter, and this guy, and then, so I went and said, so if you do one stupid thing, and then I'm calling you, the whole thing is stupid, not that one thing that you did is stupid. I said, you, the whole you is stupid, not just you did one very stupid thing. And then afterwards, I bring and escalate it in any way that I want to. And we do these things. Remember this. In the sales pitches, in politicians, they do this very regularly, that you escalate it in any way that you want to. In this case, for example, with him, I say, you're a carpenter. Then I say, so carpenters, the whole carpenters are stupid. We don't have a carpenter who is smart. And then I want to change it in a different way. You're white. I make all whites stupid. Just no thing. We do this kind of things on a regular basis. And of course, when I say that, now the same thing happened in 9/11 when a few Muslims, they went and did that. All Muslims, they became terrorists.
Correct. Yeah.
But that seemed okay. But when I'm saying that one carpenter who happens to be white and made one mistake, that mistake became stupid, and then the whole carpenter became stupid, the whole generation became stupid. And I could have taken it in any way I wanted to do. I could take it to the fact that he's a young man, all young men are stupid.
You can pick anything about him and just generalize him.
Exactly. As long as it doesn't include me in it.
Exactly. As long as I stay right, I can
I'm
pick
your
anything.
good.
Yeah.
And do we do these things? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Very
Yeah,
frequently.
for sure.
So I bring it up in this fashion. I know that some of them to us seems okay. If, for example, we say that Muslims are terrorists, it sounds, it's true. Because a few of them were terrorists, so all of them are terrorists. And then if we say Chinese virus, well, it happened in China, so then it becomes okay. Those two are okay. But when I say the carpenters, the whole carpenters, across the world, regardless of the color and regardless of the gender, all of them are stupid, then that becomes silly. And then I can escalate in different way. So we want to be a bit more careful with the words that we use, and we to be accurate a little bit when we speak. And as a general way, I say random talks results in random conclusions. And even in business, they say success of business. Of course, okay, this is not a very accurate numbers, but I read this somewhere, but the gist of it is correct. It says success of a business, 10% is competence, 10% is confidence, 80% is clarity.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this percentage are made up, but there is a good value on clarity, that exactly what you exactly want to do. So we will come back again to this subject. I would like to bring some other examples, but in another episode we will talk about that. And
I think so, because we touched a lot on speaking accurately, but not so much on listening professionally.
Yeah, we will do that maybe in the next podcast.
Okay.
That's good. You're listening.
I have to. I'm stuck here.
Okay, so you guys have a good one, and hope you enjoyed this podcast. And again, remember, life is simple. We make it complicated. Take care all.